Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode.
Yo, Nicole.
Hey, Rolando.
Have you ever gotten your parents so mad, like King Triton got mad at Ariel in The Little Mermaid? Like, has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I've been slapped across the face by my mom before and yelled at on the top of her lungs.
I don't think it's about slapping in the face, right? Because, like, who hasn't? At least I like to believe we've all. Because it happened many times for me growing up. No, I'm talking about, like, your parent breaking and ripping stuff that you love or you cherish. Right?
No.
Like, your parents have never, like, gone into your room and, like, ripped up, like, a movie poster or something?
No, my mom's not toxic like that, so.
Well, I mean, lucky you, because both me and Eddie have had our stories after watching The Little Mermaid. For me, my mom she was so mad. I did something to piss her off. Like, I'm not going to play innocent here, but, like, she ripped up Pokemon cards for me as a little kid, and that was probably, like, the worst thing you could ever do to me at the time, right?
Wow, yeah. And
for Eddie, he remembers his mom, like, she was just so mad at him that she, like, ripped books.
Oof,
right?
That's rough.
So me and Eddie, we have this, like, psychological connection with Ariel and that fear of the parent finding out what you love and having them being able to destroy it, which is something, I don't know. Like, it's something that interesting that me and Eddie do share, who is unfortunately not with us, but, you know, it's okay, because we're going to have a special guest.
He's alive.
He's alive. No, yeah, he's alive. He's just not in this episode. But It's okay, because we do have a special guest. So I think, do you want to kick things off?
Let's just get right into talking about the big movie, the controversial Disney live-action remake of their own film, The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid? Yes.
The Little
Mermaid.
Let's
do it. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about
unoriginality.
So guys, before we get into today's episode, Rolando and I have a quick announcement. If you are in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, you should come out to Hoboken, New Jersey on June 17th at 6:30 to the Hoboken Historical Museum, where Rolando and I will be co-hosting a night of queer films, of short films, with the Thomas Edison Film Festival.
Yeah, it's going to be a wonderful night. Me and Nicole, we love discussing Hollywood's unoriginality, as our open says, but this is a nice chance we have been presented to, like, showcase some original works by other artists. So we're very excited to host this event and, like, have this panel discussion afterwards about the films. So please join us. It'll be fun.
Yes, and if you can't make it, we will actually be releasing it as a bonus episode where you can actually access the films that were shown that night and watch it and hear our thoughts about it. So, but if you're in the area, definitely come by and see us in person. And we might have some other cool things happening for this Pride Month. Who knows?
It's our first, this categorizes as our first live show. We finally hit it. We made it, Nicole.
We made it. Oh my God. I don't think I can take this type of fame. So.
No, me neither. I wasn't built for it, but that is it. Yeah, we're gonna try to put together some other type of Pride events if not this Pride Month, maybe for Hudson County Pride, which is for some reason celebrated separately in New Jersey, but who knows why. But hey, we might capitalize it. It gives us time to plan. Anything else? Do you have news? Any news that we want to share?
Well, I sent you a text last night because if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you might have heard our Sex and the City episode. My sister was on it and we talked about the new show And Just Like That, where Rolando, he was so insistent that he was waiting to the finale of that show because he was like, nope, Samantha's going to come back. Samantha's going to come back. She never did.
She never did. What a heartbreaking moment that was for us all. But I still held out hope. I'm like, maybe she'll make a cameo for season 2. And it was just announced. Kim Cattrall will be making a cameo in Just Like That. season 2's finale. I love that they made it the finale too. They made a point to express for the finale, so that way people have to watch the very end. I wonder how fleeting her cameo is going to be. Like, is it going to be her like literally just waving "Hello, girls," and that's it?
Yeah, so I literally remember what you said, like that she's gonna enter the frame and be like, "Oh, girls, what mess have you made of things?" or something. And she's gonna like that. Come to clean things up. So I think they listened, and I think you got to get that paycheck.
I do
from Warner Brothers.
I do,
Rolando.
Especially during the writer's strike. Like it's just like, nah. You give me mine right now.
Yeah. So I mean, props, kudos, and it finally came true. So it took a while, but yeah, some impressive news. So today, really special episode, a big one, The Little Mermaid. People have so many thoughts about it. People are divided about it. And we've had MacKenzie Green on our podcast before for a Batman episode, the one with Robert Pattinson. She was on for Jurassic Park. She should have been on Top Gun Maverick. And she was also, if we had known, and she was also on our Black Panther Wakanda Forever episode. And we have the pleasure of having her once more to discuss this film, which we have a lot of thoughts about. So without further ado, we're going to take it over to us talking to MacKenzie right now.
So everybody, welcome. Yes, as promised, we do have a special guest today. You have heard her before, the one and only MacKenzie Green.
Hello.
Hi, MacKenzie.
I have forced myself on this show once more.
And potentially coming up next month again for...
Literally. I pitch myself quite frequently when movie slates are released.
So, hey, no complaints from us. We love having you on. And
we absolutely love. I mean, we would love if you could be a co-host, but then that'd be too many podcasts for you.
That's
sure.
right. Yeah.
So.
I would basically be the Nicole Bear of pop culture podcasts. People would be like, too many podcasts. Get off my ears. I can't.
I am glad you're finding so much success in the podcasting world. It's great for you, and I'm so excited for you to do the LA Comic-Con podcast. You want to tell our listeners a little bit about it?
I'm so excited. Like, I finally have a project to plug. So I will be taking over as the new host of the LA Comic-Con podcast. We're coming back to the airwaves in July 10th, as The World Needs Nerds. So it'll be myself and my producer, Rob Schulte, coming to you with all things pop culture nerddom. We have an episode. We start the season with an episode where we break down our big 3 astrology signs via fandom films, and then and then we even get into X-Men trading cards. So it's
oh my god,
it's a time on this show.
This is just the perfect podcast. I mean, astrology, pop culture, nerddom. This is all my love language.
I'm telling you, truly, it's the show that I wanted. And poor Rob is like, what's my rising? I'm like, sir, I need your sun, your moon, your rising signs.
MacKenzie, what's your rising again?
My rising is Gemini.
That's a good rising. That is great. Mine is Capricorn.
Okay. Rolando,
does that make sense for some people?
It does. It makes sense, because I feel like mine is, I'm Cancer sun, and so people are always like, "Oh my God, you don't seem like a Cancer," and I'm like, Gemini rising. Just go with it. And they're like, they're like, "Oh, okay, so that's why you left your house, but now you're here," and you're like, "Please, nobody talk to me. Goodbye."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my Sagittarius sun, people are like, "Oh wait, you're actually fun. You're not a bitch. Cool."
Exactly.
My God, the way. I wish I knew as much as you guys in terms of astrology. That is just not my forte at all. I barely know all the signs. I know.
Listen, I had to learn.
Mine.
I had my manager at my current role at Who I Wear asked me, like, on my first day. She was like, "What time were you born?" And my mom was like, "Oh, so you work at one of those kind of places. This is very LA."
Oh God, that's where I want to work. Oh, I love that environment so much. By the way, Rolando is a Capricorn rising and a Capricorn sun. He is,
and I am a Capricorn.
Oh wow,
yes.
Double Capricorn. All right,
yeah.
Okay.
And a Leo moon. So just want to say that. So
is that? Oh,
right.
How did you figure out
it's
my moon?
It's a nice balance, because we did this whole thing before actually.
And
so
I know Eddie is a Leo, so. I don't know if that's...
And that's why. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about astrology, sadly. We're actually here to talk about a new movie that you might have heard of. The new Disney live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. iconic Disney film that I'm sure we all have a history with growing up. I know that there is footage of me before I was speaking, singing like Ariel glued to my television.
Aww.
So, I mean, yeah, that was my first favorite movie ever. And also me laughing like Ursula, because I loved both of them. I wanted to be both Ariel and Ursula.
I respect that.
Okay.
So, right? Yeah. What about you guys? What's your kind of history with this movie?
Oh, baby. So I love this movie. There's many pictures around our house of me in a very bad red wig as the mermaid waddling down the street with my fin on. I was also a swimmer, so I think you weirdly just fall in love with the character if you like spend any amount of time in the water. And you know, of course, you're like, you spend hours. Like, I would spend 3-hour practices twice a day, sometimes during winter training. So after a while, you do start to hum that song in your head as you're like on hour 2, being like, I live here now.
Which song? Under the Sea?
Oh, the
okay.
Because that's one you can hum. I was a weird kid, but I would hum and be like, I wonder if people can hear in my head. So I would do that all practice. I was a strange child. And then my best friend was a close friend of the Mermaids for 6 years at Hollywood Studios in Disney. So yeah. So I also like, I don't know. I loved it as a kid, loved it growing up, and then weirdly the first time I ever saw her close friend, the mermaid, on stage singing, tears, sobbing, lost my mind. So then that made me like love the character all over again.
Aww.
I love
That's
that.
sweet.
Rolando, what about you?
Yeah. So remember how when we covered Peter Pan not that long ago, I said like, oh, my first introduction to Peter Pan was that play with that lady. So for me,
Kathy
Martin, yeah.
Oh, I was like Kathy Rigsby. I don't know.
Oh,
what
maybe it
I'm
was
talking
Kathy Rigsby. I don't know, one of them. But
actually, it might be, yeah.
But my first introduction to The Little Mermaid was actually my father reading me the story and stuff.
Very
and
cool.
It wasn't until I was like rereading it for the podcast, I was just like, wait a minute. It kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, my dad used to read me this. I didn't realize that. It was like almost like a unearthed memory that I forgot I had. And but my first time, I didn't see The Little Mermaid first, like the Disney one. The first one I actually saw was like this animated movie that I cannot track, but it was an animated version where I distinctly remember the Little Mermaid turning into sea foam at the end, right? Like she tries to kill the
You
prince.
were like, why do people love this film? There's a girl that dies
that
at
was
the
like,
end.
so mind you, yeah, that was like the first one I saw before I got into The Little Mermaid. And I don't know, now I'm wondering if my dad used to like make me watch these like other versions before he gives me the Disney ones, like intentionally, right? Because this is like the second instance that comes to mind, like obviously Peter Pan, and then he also made me watch, like he used to read to me the original Rapunzel, which was a lot darker, right? Where they go blind at the end and stuff. So I think he just didn't want me to like live that or at least fall into those fantasy tropes and traps and stuff as a kid. Weirdly enough, but but then and when I saw The Little Mermaid, though, I mean I was just enamored with the music. You know, like how can you not? Under the Sea was like one of my favorite songs, but I love a lot of the music from A Little Mermaid. It's also singable, but like the song that like would be with me for so long would actually be Kiss the Girl. I think that song is just so well orchestrated and it's so cute, and I think it's such a loving thing. And I guess I always wanted that moment with me, like, you know, for me to like have that moment under the stars, someone's telling me to kiss them, go.
Aww.
I'm deeply obsessed with because this was a thing when my friend got married that I genuinely for years tried to convince everybody to do a flash mob of Under the Sea at her wedding. Yeah. And truly everyone was like, you're deranged, because I love the Titus Burgess Broadway version, and the way in my head I'm like, I can do it. Guys, get me a microphone and we're good to go.
Funny.
And people were like, no. But I do love, I do think Kiss the Girl is it's a really adorable song.
It is.
It is, yeah.
I think I like Titus Burgess's version of Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Same.
Yes.
And that's my favorite song.
It's such a good one. It's
best song.
Poor Unfortunate Souls, I mean, that's the song I will listen to occasionally, like, on my playlist.
Yeah. There are
I'm not ashamed to admit that.
There are two villains in life that as I've gotten older, I understand them more. And one is Eveline from The Wiz. I have a lot more respect for her now because in hindsight, I'm like, she was making good points. If you have nothing useful to say to me, keep your mouth shut. Don't bring me no bad news. And then Ursula is the other one where I'm like, you are a child, little girl, and you have the nerve to be like, I would give up everything for this man. She was just proving a point. You're dumb. Pull it together.
Made her learn the ultimate lesson the hard way.
Yeah. Ursula.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
also Ursula, yeah, just such a, I mean, Titus Burgess should have been Ursula, because we all seen that performance of him doing Poor Unfortunate Soul. And we know that Ursula is based on Divine, the drag queen.
Yeah.
So it's just a role that was purely meant for, I think, a man in drag.
I
so
mean,
opportunity missed for the new movie.
A million percent, I will say, because there were even moments where I was like, okay, like when people were like Ginger Minge, I'm like, I could do without that, but I get what you're saying.
Ooh.
But I
Jinx Monsoon.
That's who I was thinking.
Yeah,
Jinx Monsoon. And she's actually, there's a YouTube video of her like covering Poor Unfortunate Souls too.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where I was like you guys, I was like, oh, they should have had a drag performer, but we'll probably get into it later. There is a moment where it finally hit me why I actually thought Melissa made sense and their version of Vanessa in relationship to Halle, that I was like, I'm going to remember this until I'm an old lady.
Yes, we will get into that soon. Before we do, Rolando, you were read the story growing up. I mean, like, can you all I know is that it was written by Hans Christian Andersen, and the internet has informed me of certain things like Seafoam. But like, do you know a little bit about the story? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so in The Little Mermaid, she doesn't have a name. Her name isn't Ariel. She's just the Little Mermaid. She's the youngest daughter of the King of the Sea, and on her 15th birthday, she's allowed to go to the surface. And on her birthday, when she goes, she sees the prince for the first time, falls in love with him, and then his ship gets like shipwrecked. She saves him, and just very much like in the movies, like he becomes obsessed with this woman who saved him. And he's a prince. She eventually is given a potion by a sea witch who tells her, you can become a human, but on the first day after his wedding, if it's not with you, like you will turn into sea foam and die. And she takes the deal. Now, interestingly, I remember distinctly, like one of the things is like how painful it is for her to become human, and every step she takes as a human being is supposed to be like knives into her feet, basically.
Oof.
And that's important because like one of the things that she likes to do for the prince is she likes to dance for him because he loves to see her dance. She has like such a grace to her, and so she puts herself through this torture to make him happy. And eventually, since he's the prince, he's supposed to be married to someone. He comes to learn that like this princess from another kingdom was there when he was rescued, so he thinks that she's the one who actually saved him, and therefore walks down the aisle with him. And the sisters come and they say like, look, we talked to the sea witch. They will let you. We cut off our hair so that way you can get this dagger. If you kill the prince, she'll let you live. But as she's about to do it, she can't come to kill him. So she decides to sacrifice herself because she's with him. And that's ultimately, and that is. But now here's the happy ending though. Because in this folklore, mermaids don't have souls, humans do. So when she becomes a sea foam, she is given. So she becomes like a spirit of the earth, and she says like, if you perform good deeds for like 300 years, you will have a soul. And it's like this is why.
This is why I'm obsessed with the real story. It's because when people were like, I want an accurate mermaid story, I was like, the movie you all are describing is very depressing and not for children.
Yeah,
it is true. Well, there's a reason why it's depressing though, and this is what I find so fascinating. Hans Christian Andersen was madly in love with like one of his friends who, and this story came out when he became betrothed to a woman. And there are letters that he has written just professing his love to his friend and how he wishes either he could be a woman or he could be a woman so they could be together. And it was an unrequited love story. And if you take that into consideration, like this is a man who wishes like he could be normal like everybody else, or at the very least, like maybe find love with like the person he can't have. So this he was processing his feelings.
But
and
this
it's
is why I'm
fascinating.
deeply obsessed with the idea of like, stop pushing the woke agenda. And I'm like, baby, it's all a woke agenda. The gay agenda has been around since the dawn of time. I don't know what to tell you.
Yes.
It's been there. It's been that's
Right.
actually a good reminder. Happy Pride, everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Or-
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. It's truly, to this day, my favorite moment in life is seeing the Sistine Chapel with my parents and my mom going, and that was his boyfriend. Like, as we're looking at the image of like them, and she goes, huh.
Yes, Mom.
Yeah, she was just like, all that, because she was into a dude. I like
Wow.
it. And we just like walk out
See?
of the room. I'm like, Mom. She was like, I'm just pointing it out.
That's a beautiful Pride moment. But you know what's
Right?
so great about that story is that you can also translate it to like the perfect allegory of the selflessness of women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's all I hear in that. Like, wow, she just gives up everything.
She sacrifices
Yes.
Because
everything
for
to be with him.
somebody else. Now, of course, we can read that in a different way, which is how a
Absolutely.
lot of people end up reading the movie and whatnot. But still, like that's great. Now I want to read it.
It is wonderful. It's also available on audiobook now. That's how I like reread it.
Nice.
for the podcast in time. But it's a
Interesting,
short read. It's
okay.
like it's short.
Yeah. Well, when they made the film in 1989, which I mean, we were all alive in 1989.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. I was like a year old.
I was like 2.
So we don't remember it, but it was a bad time for Disney. Disney was just not doing well after Don Bluth left Disney and formed his own company and had a lot of success with movies like Secret of Nim, which is one of Rolando's favorite movies, and American Tail and stuff. Yeah,
That one I like.
American Tail is delightful.
Yeah.
American Tail is very good. You know, these rival things was like giving a lot of competition for Disney, and Disney's output of Oliver and Company and Fox and the Hound were just not living up to the Disney standard that people were used to.
Wow. You know what's
So-
funny about Fox and the Hound? Like if that one came out today, like the conservatives would have like an absolute field day.
You just
Like, they would
nailed it
just
on. They
not.
would lose their minds about you want foxes
Seriously.
and dogs to be friends and play together and fight for each other and like same thing with Bambi. It would be like this is anti-gun propaganda. And it'd be like,
Ron DeSantis would be having a heart
Yeah.
attack and like
losing his mind.
Oh my God. Wow. Well said. Do you think that's going to get a live action remake?
not anytime
Live
soon.
action.
Oh my god,
in
they
quote-
can't.
yeah.
I can't take any more of these CGI'd animals. They're
Me neither.
they're messing
Right?
with my brain. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely confusing. So Disney took a gamble and they said, you know, we're going to go back to our roots, kind of like when Disney was alive. I think this was under the advisement of Michael Eisner. This was his time period. And they got some Broadway writers with Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. They commissioned a score and they chose a classic fairy tale like this one, completely kind of rewrote it to be more kid friendly. Out comes a Little Mermaid. And thus the Disney Renaissance began. After this,
completely
Beauty and the
rewrite it. They
Beast.
just rewrote the ending to make it a little happier.
Well,
Yeah.
certain things, I guess, but yeah, I mean, it was a sensation. Beauty and the Beast came out 2 years later, then 3 years. A year after that was Aladdin. Then they got Elton John to do The Lion King. I mean, we all know, and this was the time period we grew up with Disney,
Right.
Yeah.
and we were lucky because that was such a great time to grow up. as
Arguably
Disney
one of the
fans.
best like
Yeah.
film
Yeah.
like animated eras
It's also
for
like
sure.
the era of taking actual classics and turning them into cartoons, where it was like, we're going to take this
Yeah.
very rough Hans Christian Andersen
Mhm.
story. We're going to take Shakespearean tales. We're going to take Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame and make like
Mhm.
somebody
Yeah.
really was like, I have so many Penguin Random House classics in my house that we
But
have to do something
They
with
were
it.
doing that for so many children's pieces, though. That was also when the Muppets were doing, you know, Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island.
Don't even
you
get
know?
me started. I think Muppet Christmas Carol is the greatest adaptation of a piece of work.
Oh yeah, no, we all agree.
Same.
We had an episode and we just concluded it's like Muppet Christmas Carol is the clear winner.
Same
of
with
It's
Treasure
beautiful.
Island. I'm like,
Yeah, Treasure Island is great.
oh, I sang the Cabin Fever song for an hour straight in the start of quarantine for my family.
That was the one note I had for this Little Mermaid. Seeing the CGI fish, I'm just like, you know what, Disney, can you just give me a remake with just Muppets to play the animal parts or something? Like, let's keep it whimsical somehow.
I want that
some way.
back where one serious actor is present and everybody else is a
Yes.
Muppet.
Muppet fan. I'm a huge Muppet fan myself. We've been trying to get Disney to do Muppet Great Gatsby.
Oh,
I love
that's
that.
right.
Right?
I love that.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Because like also there's not enough of these, like you say, classic literature stories or just classic stories, being translated for the kids anymore. Like we kind of got lucky there, because of this, I'm familiar with so many great texts and stuff.
I know Disney should they usually love like taking public domain stuff and then turning it to their just exclusive IPs.
Exactly.
So I'm surprised they haven't done that with Great Gatsby. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how this next kid generation is growing up with our exact films, but done differently. Like they also have The Lion King, they also have Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, and now The Little Mermaid, which truly has been an event film. Like I feel like this is the first official event film of the year.
Yeah,
people are just like so excited for it, which is very heartwarming for me.
I'm trying to see if I have a counter argument before. But
you don't think it's the event of the year so far?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what other. It's hard to remember what other movies have come out so far.
So John Wick was kind of not really. Fast X came and went.
Oh, but that's like part one of a trilogy.
Oh no, wait. Super Mario might have been the first one.
Yeah,
but that wasn't. I think that might have been an event too. Yeah, a lot of people were like very much anticipating.
Oh yeah,
this
people
film,
turned up for that. Yeah. And then like the Bowser song went viral.
Oh,
so.
I mean, but it's so good.
I mean, it's truly
hilarious,
that movie. That movie was a great example because Dungeons and Dragons was a movie for everybody, but if you like D&D, you liked it even more. The Mario movie was a movie for Mario fans and children, and if you didn't follow you don't play that game like me, you sat in that theater and went, I don't know what's happening, but that Peaches song is fun. Like I was like, I don't know who these people are. They're having a great time. There's a star having an existential crisis, which I relate to that star.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you could tell there were like so many Easter eggs that I didn't get.
Which I was trying to explain some of them to you.
Yeah, I had no clue what was happening.
I was like,
that whole movie. And I think I even said to somebody, I go, I don't know what the problem was with the live action one. And that person was so insulted that I thought the Bob Haskins one was good.
But me,
I love the Bob Haskins one.
Me and Nicole were in agreement here. It's just like, the Bob Haskins one gets a lot of hate for no reason. This is like a very
no reason at
great movie. It had its own vision. Yes. And it stuck to it. The fashion alone was just great in that film.
It's an insane, like that whole movie is a fever dream. Yeah. Like somebody was clearly on drugs and was like, this is the best live action adaptation that will ever be made.
I'll admit, it's a fun movie to watch on drugs also.
Exactly. There are just some things, like as I once said, sitting in SpongeBob the Musical, if you were on acid right now, this would be way more fun. And the actor next to me who was like coming down the aisles just started laughing because I was like, you thought it too.
I could imagine. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I have seen like pictures of it. I'm just like, that looks like a fever dream.
All I will say is somebody tap dances with 6 extra feet and it made my head explode.
Wow.
Oh, whoa.
I started a standing ovation that nobody else joined. It was just me in a Broadway theater clapping and being like, Strange, bravo, encore. And people were like, please sit down.
They were all too high. They couldn't move.
Yeah, everybody else, it was just children and adults who were like on Xanax and white wine being like, what?
But yeah, so thoughts about the original film. I mean, is this one of our favorite Disney movies? Do we think it's kind of like the pinnacle of the Disney Renaissance era? Like, what do you guys think?
I don't know if it's a pinnacle.
I don't think it's the pinnacle. It's also one of those movies where I think all I really loved was Under the Sea. And then outside of it was like part of your world was, I don't know, I was a little kid that didn't really get a ballad. It was like, why is she singing so slow? This is so boring.
I agree.
Yeah. And then I was always, I for some reason, and this is going to make me sound like such a child, when Ursula becomes giant at the end, that freaks me out. No matter what. Like when my friend was in the stage show and giant Ursula would come out at Disney and start attacking, that I had to close my eyes in my 20s. I had to put my hands over my eyes or I had to put my fingers in my ear. I don't know why. That thing freaks me out every time, the idea of her becoming gigantic and being in the middle of the ocean. Also, I think deep sea freaks me out. So then that whole concept is like, who knows what's out there? It could be a fish lady, Ursula.
Yeah.
So that's one of the sequences that also I will forever remember, specifically when she gets stabbed and you see her like skeleton and like the flash, right? it's like scary. But I think for me, the scarier part comes like right
shark
beforehand. No. It's like when
she's on the ship.
When she's on the ship and she's crawling towards the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that animation was so creepy to watch as a kid because but like that's the beauty of like this film. Like the animation is so beautiful and like the fluidity of these characters, they feel so real when you know they're not. But she's just coming towards you and it's just like horrific. Yeah, no, it's I don't like. I agree with MacKenzie. Like I don't think this is the pinnacle of the Disney Renaissance. I might argue either The Lion King or the Beauty and the Beast are.
Same.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I would too.
But for sure, like to kickstart the Renaissance, a great film. Like it is easily one of my top 10 Disney films of all time. I mean, for me, it's always been the music. The music has always been good. Even A Part of Your World, while not my favorite song, it is still an earworm. You remember it. Like you know how to hum it. You know how to sing along. And you know, as you grow older, the message starts to resonate a little bit more with you. I mean, I'm not a girl being yelled at by my father. I was a young boy yelled at by my mother. So. But Poor Unfortunate Souls, I mean that's just song is just such a great song, and it kicked off the idea that like villains should have a song too.
Yeah.
And so they usually get some of the best songs too.
Yeah, Maleficent didn't have a song. Cruella didn't.
She had a song about her, but it wasn't like her song.
Yeah, it wasn't her song. Yeah. And now you have to.
Yeah, it just hit me because I was thinking about the timeline. Yeah, you get Poor Unfortunate Souls, you get Be Prepared. Like
the Hellfire song by Frodo. That's not the best song, but it is a powerful.
Yeah,
Gaston. Yeah, that's Gaston. Yeah,
that's a good one too. I love that stupid song. Like it's such a good it's so great. It tells you Alan Menken does that so well, where it's like. Yeah. I need to sum up who this person is in music, right? Like as somebody who loves musical theater, I get the biggest complaint is like nobody expresses themselves through song. But I think what he does really well is he tees up this like, Dad, don't destroy my things. How can a world so bad be filled with such beautiful things into in a way that you're like, oh, okay, the song makes sense. Same thing with Poor Unfortunate Souls. She's exposition dumping through a song where it's like, let me explain to you all these things. These are people who sold their souls. Girl, you real stupid. You can get the man. You just need some body language. Like he does a great job through music explaining these characters where it's like everything you need to know about Sebastian and these folks are they don't like it up there because people eat fish. They kill fish. They're freaked out by them. Girl, why would you want to go up there? Like they just set it up really well.
They do.
Absolutely. Even Entangled, when the mother's song, Mother Knows Best, I think it's one of the most clever, I think it's one of the more clever songs ever written for a Disney film. And I absolutely agree. They say in musicals, when emotions get too intense, it's when people burst out into song because they can find no other way to express themselves. I mean, it's part of the art form.
Nothing makes more sense in Aladdin than this genie who is already overwhelmed you with his presence is like, fine, okay, let me explain how all of this works. And then you get the best song of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Belle, I want adventure in the great white somewhere.
You know everything you need to know. You know that Lumiere is doing something he shouldn't, and then you're like, this seems like a really big set piece for somebody who's supposed to be quiet. Like he does Hercules. Oh, everything you need to know. I'm gonna go somewhere I can go the distance. Yeah. Like Alan Menken just has a really good way of just going, what's a big, huge 11 o'clock number that tells you everything you need to know, and then we can piece out and the story can proceed. We don't have to explain anything else. You know everything you need to know about Ariel now from Part of Your World.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to state that his lyrical partner for this film was Howard Ashman, who was a gay man who then actually died after writing the lyrics for Beauty and the Beast of complications from AIDS. But I think that lends itself very well to the sensibilities of that film, which I think is also important because Hans Christian Andersen, like Rolando told us, a gay man.
Might be gay. It's never been confirmed.
Might be gay, but let's just say.
I mean, I
never came out of the closet.
It's like I don't think he was writing letters that effusive just because he was like, "Hey, buddy, I think we should be roommates still." Like
roommates in quotation marks. Howard Ashman wrote the lyrics, and then the filmmaker who directs the live action one is, I think, one of the greatest gay filmmakers we have currently. So
Rob Marshall is gay.
Rob Marshall. Yes,
I did not know that. Okay,
I like Nicole. My response to that was yes. We can We can look at him.
It
We
makes
can listen
sense.
to him.
Like if you look at his filmography, it's just Chicago, Memoirs of a Geisha,
Yeah.
9. I mean that
People
the set piece
Into
with
the
her-
Woods.
People poo-poo on 9, but when I tell you that is my movie,
I love
every
9.
so often will watch that movie and be like, be Italian.
I mean, yeah, Fergie's set piece alone is probably like the gayest thing I've seen in like modern cinema.
I'm not
Yeah,
kidding. People
yeah.
poo-poo on that movie so much, but I think that movie and discovering Dita Von Teese like formed my adolescence where I was like, oh my God, I want to be Sophia Loren. Like I was probably the only kid where everybody else was like, I want to be Britney, I want to be Christina. And I was like, I want to be Dorothy Dandridge, Sophia Loren, Anita Ekberg.
Yes.
Like
Hey,
I was
yes.
obsessed.
I don't. People like that are iconic for a long, long time. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, listen, when I tell you that was literally the art direction I gave for Miss USA, I was like, so you know when Anita Ekberg gets out of the fountain and like this poor Venezuelan man is like, what?
Love it.
I was like, that's what I want.
Just quoting my favorite movie of all time. Love that.
I mean, it's
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you guys that it's not the pinnacle of it by any means. It's actually one that I don't ever really rewatch. I don't have a desire to
really?
that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
same. It's one of the ones where a lot of times when people are like, you're a Disney adult, I'm like, I get it. I truly only fell back in love with it because of my friend. So then I was like, I went to, so people would always be like, oh, like you said, Nicole, oh, do you rewatch the movie? Never. If she's not on stage doing it, no.
Interesting.
I think the bits of it are fantastic, but as a whole, it's not something that I enjoy as a whole, if that makes sense.
I mean, maybe part of the reason why I like it is it's a short watch. It is a breezy watch. Like you're in, you're out. Like it's like what, like an 87-minute long
That is
film.
true.
I think?
It's very short. I think it's one of the best scores, the songs, but also the score, like the music. Like when, you know, the fish escapes the ship and he goes down and then the piano begins. Like every time I hear that music, it gives me chills. I just think it is truly a beautiful score by Alan Menken. We got to give this guy the props that he deserves. I think, that and Beauty and the Beast might be, I think, the best scores of all of the Disney ones.
Beauty and the Beast is a good one, yeah.
Yeah, see,
I think it's beautiful music.
For me, Hercules is the top of the Alan Menken like scores and soundtracks, and then I probably put like
I love me Hercules.
It's tough. Now that you throw that at me, though, it's so tough. I mean, Pocahontas is great.
Exactly.
Is that one? Wait, that one is getting a live action remake, right?
I think it is like, but with Guy Ritchie, which I'm just like,
that might be.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
kind
like,
of
I
a
don't
bummer.
need that, but okay, man, sure.
Yeah. What's the next one? Is it Moana?
I think it's
I don't
Moana.
know.
Which
Why are they-
I'm
which is-
convinced the only reason Moana's happening is because Dwayne Johnson knows we're all still mad at him about Black Adam, so he was like,
Yeah.
I'll fix it. I'm Maui.
Yeah.
And everybody's what?
Yeah, no, I agree
Yeah.
with you 1,000,000%. I also feel like he wants to make sure that he's the one who does the role, and like you can only have his body
that's it.
for, I mean, a short amount of time before like age catches up on you. You know what I mean?
Truly,
Like,
it's like, sir, I mean, we'll probably get into it, but I think there's a beautiful way in these remakes for the people who originated it to come back in a way that makes you go like, oh, okay, cute, but not like, and it allows you to introduce new talent. I thought they did a really good job in this movie with being like, everybody here knows that this girl is in this movie and we all approve because look, here's, here's all these OGs that are, giving their blessing.
Yeah. You know what? I think we've all seen the original. It's classic, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the new one because that's what we're really here for.
Yeah.
right.
When they did Beauty and the Beast in 2017 and then they got to Lion King in 2019, we knew it was a matter of time the Little Mermaid was happening.
I don't know.
And I think...
Did we know it's a matter of time? Because I feel like the Little Mermaid was a hard one. The problem with the Little Mermaid is under the sea, like being literally under the sea makes it like it's going to be a CGI fest. Did we want that? Then we got the Lion King. We're like, I guess we're okay with a CGI fest. For
me, Jungle Book is my favorite live action adaptation, and I think when that happened, I was like, this is going to be beautiful. I mean, it's why I thought The Lion King was going to be amazing, because I was like, Jon Favreau did such a good job with Jungle Book, and then he scared the piss out of me with The Lion King, and I was like, I was like, sir, you had everything in your favor. Seth Rogen, Beyonce, like you had
Beyonce,
Donald Glover, you had everything, and people still were like, I don't like this movie. Please don't make me watch it.
And there's a big difference. And the major difference is like the Jungle Book, the main character is still a human who's just interacting with CGI beasts.
Yep.
Where the Lion King, you have just CGI beasts and stuff. And that was a major fault. But I too was like ready for Jon Favreau to blow my mind with the Lion King. I was just so disappointed. I was very much. I think that's kind of when I became more hardened in the podcast.
I was
overall.
kind of like you, Rolando,
Yes,
where
absolutely.
I didn't know Little Mermaid was next, but when it got announced, because they had been kind of like, my immediate response was like, oh no, not another one. And then I think when Halle got announced, my immediate reaction was, oh God, now you guys are just setting her up for failure. Like, oh great, like you're putting her in something that is gonna be trash, and now we're gonna have to fight back of like, no, the movie itself was trash, not her. And
right.
It made me so nervous.
Well, so the first person that got attached to it was the director, Rob Marshall.
Yep.
And I mean, every single film that he's cast, he's always caused controversy with his casting. Richard Gere in a musical. Meryl Streep in Into the Woods.
That was
Daniel Day-Lewis in 9. Like,
now
he's
that you're saying
always...
it is hitting me that I'm like,
I can't believe,
but meanwhile, Richard Gere with, now, ladies and gentlemen, a tap dance.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I mean, and he was great.
But they killed it, yeah. But when you watch the films and you see it, like, you see what he saw in it.
Yeah.
You know, so there's, like, I don't know why it always happens to him. So when they said Rob Marshall was going to direct it, I'm like, oh, he's going to piss some people off. And sure enough.
Boy, howdy.
I know.
I think more than we ever.
I mean, I think what's funny is he is so skilled at what he does that, I knew he was going to like piss people off, right? Because I remember when Chicago got announced, I was like, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Like, even as a kid, I was like, huh? And then
Renee Zellweger.
And now I'm convinced it's one of the greatest Broadway adaptations to film. Like the way the way he does it so well that the whole complaint is people are singing their feelings. It's like none of these women are right in the head. She is seeing she is having psychotic breaks in real time and seeing a musical, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And so I think I very much was like, oh, he's gonna cast the best person, right? Like that was I had the same thing you had, Nicole, where I was like, oh, he's gonna piss people off, because I was like, he's gonna pick who he likes. Like he's not going to put out a casting call that's like every redheaded singer. It was literally gonna be like, if you can sing, show up. If you're Dua Lipa, come. If you're Halle Bailey, come. If you're Jessie J, show up. Like pull up to the audition.
Lindsay Lohan pulled that stunt where she posted a picture of her dressed as a Little Mermaid on Instagram, I think, because she wanted. You remember how Michael Jackson wanted to be Peter Pan?
Yes,
for Hook? It's similar, same vibe.
Yeah, I like
energy.
how Lizzo kept pitching herself as Ursula. Like she would make various videos of herself in her pool, like laughing, and I was
that would have been a could have been a good Ursula.
That would have been
great.
Yeah. But I think I don't know, when the casting was announced, my first thought was, oh, that's the best person he saw. Like I really didn't think to myself, like Disney sent down an edict that was like, we want you to go for a non-white cast. I really was like, oh damn, okay, so this must have been the best person. Like here we go. And I think that's why I was so shocked when people were like, no. And I instantly was like, oh, none of you have heard the Bailey sisters sing then, if your first reaction to this is no. I was like, of all the R&B vocalists, like that's who I would pick.
Well, I actually didn't know who Halle Bailey was when she was announced. I also didn't know Rob Marshall was attached to it. So I had just heard the controversy around it, and I was like, oh my God, it's just a Black Ariel. Like, it's not a big deal. There's no point. Like, why are people having like a conniption about this? And mind you, this is like 2019, almost 3 years ago at this point.
It's been years of this.
I think we covered it. I think we may have covered the news on the podcast, like when it was announced. And then, you forgot about it because like it was in post for so long. CGI. But it's not until the trailer drops that you see again all this hostility come towards the casting of Halle Bailey. And it's wild. And it's just like, wow, you guys just had 3 years to get over it. We didn't.
I think what's really fascinating, there's like a couple things. One that was really funny to me was this whole like, well, how would you feel if Princess Tiana was played by a white person? And it's like, okay, now we've got to do dumb straw man argument debates where I'm like, Tiana is based off of Leah Chase, who's a real person. Mulan is based off of a real person. Like These people are based off of real humans in which their actual ethnicity and cultural background is relevant to the story. The same thing when people would be like, well, how would you feel if the Black Panther was white? And I was like, first of all, I love mess. I'd love to see it. I would love to see a white man who's grown up in the borders of an African country that's never been colonized. I'd like a background on how he got there and what's going on. I would love to see him speaking Xhosa and like talking about vibranium and eating fufu with people. That would be hilarious. But if we're talking about a god that is native to its place, it's called Thor. Like, why are we just getting selective memory? And then the other part of the controversy that made me laugh is people were like, well, it's a Dutch story. And I was like, there are Black Dutch people. Like, literally. I'm like, there are redheaded Black people. I'm like, Journée Smollett is right there. You can go watch Eve's Bayou and see the hair that is growing out of her head is bright red in that film. It was just such a weird, like, it's one of those things where I knew the controversy was coming, but like you, Rolando, I was like, we've had 3 years. Weren't y'all mad about this in you still have this energy in 23 years later, you came ready to fight. I mean, about a trailer.
Unfortunately, the political climate doesn't help the situation because all we've gotten in the 3 years has gotten more divisive. But like at a certain point, it's a film. Like there are bigger problems in the world.
Like I think that's the part that like really gets me is this whole like, well, give original stories. And I'm like, here's the thing, guys. Nobody complains, myself included, when Stanley Tucci is basically playing Andre Leon Talley in The Devil Wears Prada. That's a real person being played by Stanley Tucci. I'm like, we all know that Sir Ben Kingsley played Gandhi. Like, my other favorite is when people were like, I just want a redhead. Like, why couldn't you call Sophie Turner? And I'm like, Sophie Turner dyes her hair red. So where is... Like, I had a woman...
That's the girl from Game of Thrones, right? Sophie Turner?
Yeah. I had a woman in the comment section tell me, she goes, I don't know if it's this... This is my favorite. I had to turn my phone off after this. She goes, I don't know if racism is the same, but gingerism is real.
Gingerism.
And I said, well, you know what? It's time for me to log off because today is one of those days. Ma'am, you just said to me, I don't know if racism is that bad. That is the start of the sentence that is already going left. But gingerism is real.
Where were you when South Park dropped that very racist gingerist episode?
I died.
Yeah,
about
gingivitis.
I truly died. That I was like, the reaching. I just was like, are you hurting yourselves with the level of reaching that you all are doing completely unprompted? Yeah. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, that is most certainly like one of those self-inflicted wounds. Like, you know that picture of the person riding the bike and then they put a stick in the wheel and they're like, damn, whatever minority they're trying to like curse, and you know they did it themselves. You know?
It really was. Like, it was just really funny to me that people were like, oh, you got to get rid of Ariel. And I was like, I promise you that most of you have never thought about the Little Mermaid a day in your life. Like,
seriously,
second in your life.
It's just crazy the things that people get worked up over. You know, when Idris Elba was rumored to be a replacement for James Bond, people lost their shit.
Oh, right.
For some reason, because James Bond. I mean, people cared that Daniel Craig was blonde, first of all, when he became James Bond, because he was traditionally not a blonde.
Which I love.
That was a thing.
But I remember this, and I remember people being like, because James Bond is a brunette, and it's like, I don't know, I'm about to say some controversial stuff, guys, but James Bond is not a real person.
Seriously.
He is a make-believe person from this man's head. What is going on? It's always really funny to me that, like, but it happens, like, right, with Star Wars and any of these fandoms, is that people coming out of the woodwork. Ghostbusters. Were like, women would never be able to fight ghosts. I'm like, based on what fact? We're the most suspicious people ever. Like, come on. We would probably have felt intuition that the ghost was here well before we got our equipment out. We'd be like, this place is cold, colder than usual. Yeah, there's a ghost here. Like,
but like then we celebrate movies like, I love this movie, but The King and I, you know, Yul Brynner is playing the King of Siam. He is not Thai, right? Rita Moreno is his wife.
Right.
She is Puerto Rican, you know, and yet we have no problem with those things.
And we had no problem
the double
with
standard of it
Maria.
I think, and maybe it's because of our age, but I feel like Rodgers and Hammerstein did an adaptation of Cinderella on our televisions in the 90s
Yes.
And I always say, and nobody asked a single question of how Pablo Montalban had Whoopi Goldberg and Victor Garber as his parents. Like
as parents,
nobody ever said, where did this boy come? Everybody just went, oh wow. Bernadette Peters had the stepdaughters that she had, and Brandy Norwood as Cinderella, and everybody just went, well, it's because I feel like this idea of, well, it's a fairy tale. Okay. Brandy's got the vocal Bible, of course. Whitney Houston is the fairy godmother. Who else do you want screaming in your face a song about believing in yourself? Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Like,
Impossible. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good song.
I think it's almost, I feel like people feel they have to have outrage at the same time. So like, rather than just being like, oh, I'll wait and see. Didn't expect this girl to be Ariel. It instead was like, not my Ariel. This Ariel's going to pollute the water. This Ariel's eating watermelon. And it's like, really?
Oh my God.
Really?
Jesus.
Oh, I had to leave a lot of like the Disney groups I was in for the parks because just like the comments, like my favorite was one woman who wrote Wednesday night. It's like somebody was like super excited to see The Mermaid. And she was like, I heard it's the worst movie ever. And everybody in the group was like, who saw the movie? Because the movie's not out yet. So who in your friend group got an advanced screening invitation? And she was like, well, it's just everybody I've talked to. And we're like, who'd you talk to? Is his name Tucker?
You're going to let somebody else make up your mind for you? Yeah. Nice.
Going back to Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, the TV movie was choreographed by Rob Marshall.
There you go. That makes sense.
It all comes back full circle.
Yeah. He also did the Annie movie.
It doesn't have Kathy Bates.
Happened, so, yeah. Sorry?
Was Kathy Bates in that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good one.
I like that.
It's just, Americans, people in general don't like change, and people react violently to change. And the only way you can grow as a person is change. So, we wonder why our society is just not doing well at all. And it's because of things like this.
I always say people have a
things.
real hard time being... I hate that term flip-flopper. It's like you can be presented with new information and be like, huh. Like I felt that way about people that I kept saying like, okay, fine, you hated a 30-second trailer. All right, go off, sis. Like if you go to the movie and you're still like, I hated it. Okay, valid. And I'm like, but please go to this movie and see like this woman's voice is otherworldly. Like get into the gig.
Because on the flip side of the controversy, there are people who could not wait to see this movie.
Yeah, myself
and people
included.
who could not wait to see actually, like, oh wow, something that is more catered to me, right?
Yeah,
more catered to like a whole group of people who haven't had too many movies fucking catered to them before.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, so Nicole and MacKenzie, where did you guys fall? Like, were you guys super excited for this film to come out, or were you like? Because Nicole, you and I cover the podcast, so like I feel like it was more like another remake.
Another Disney, we watch all the Disney ones, and they just have not been good recently. So
like I said, I was super nervous, and I was like, oh great, they've set this poor girl up for failure. And then I saw the trailer, and I was a mess. Like I cried so hard that I was like, and I kept being like, are you okay? Are you all right now? And then it's like, I don't know. I've talked about it a bunch with people, but like you don't realize how much you want to see something until you actually see it, right? So like I said, I grew up a swimmer. I dressed as a Little Mermaid. I remember walking around my neighborhood that Halloween and nobody knowing what I was. And I felt like, are all adults stupid? Because it's very clear I have a red wig, a seashell bra, and a tail. But like people couldn't get past like, what are you supposed to be? And it was like, what do you mean, what am I supposed to? Are you blind? And so I think like something about like my inner child saw her and was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so just processing that has it. When did the trailer drop? Like last year. Basically, I had a year to get myself emotionally prepared, and I still fell apart in the theater.
Well, talking about theater experiences, I mean, I saw The Little Mermaid on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. and it was packed with people who were insanely excited to see this movie.
Yeah,
because I actually just came back from Paris, so that was like the soonest I could see it, and I was like, nobody will be here. I'm missing out. People were there. Actually, I had an insanely talkative theater.
That's awful. I got blessed where, unfortunately, I had to be in the front. So my theater too was almost packed, also on a Tuesday night, and I had to sit in the front row. I was already complaining about that, I had to go complain to the manager because the seat wasn't reclining, and that's the only way I could enjoy the front row, like if I'm going to be stuck. But I got lucky where the people next to me, the guy fell asleep. The girl was clearly like very much into the film, but like the other guy, I could just hear him snoring, so I could deal with a little bit of a snore, but no talkers, thank God. A crying baby, but the family was respectful enough to like leave immediately.
Oh yeah, no, opposite for me.
See,
there was a crying child that cried so hard at the climax with King Triton dying that like literally like don't die like that, well, and they did not take the child out.
That's an emotionally invested child, though. I'd rather that than just like a whining baby. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No, yeah, they were, but they seemed like they were getting traumatized by this moment. I was like, maybe you should escort your child out and ensure them everything will be okay, instead of just letting them watch, because it's only going to get worse for the next couple of minutes. So,
MacKenzie, how were you lucky enough to enjoy this film?
I had the privilege of going to an advanced screening for this film for something for work. So I got to go to the El Capitan on a Saturday morning. Right?
God
like
damn.
With a bunch of so I'm such a psycho that I had gone to Disney like the week before with the intention of buying my first and only Spirit jersey, and left out of there with like pretty much all the merch they had. Like I was in supermarket sweep, like went up to the counter, and it was so funny because the woman laughed and I go, yeah, I came for a t-shirt, and I had like Funkos, extra shirts, like full clothing, dolls, ears, and I said like, I came for a shirt, and she goes, don't worry, sweetheart. A lot of people have come for just a shirt and left with everything. And I was like, okay, great. So yeah, it was wild to be in that theater with like, it wasn't super crowded. I'd never been in the El Capitan. I was crying from the minute the organist started playing songs from The Little Mermaid. I was like, this is so cool. This is the coolest day of my life. Yeah. And then I needed to be sedated. I haven't cried like that at The Little Mermaid since I saw my best friend in it the first time. Like it was... It will make sense in about a week, because when will this come out?
Tomorrow.
Okay, so in a week, you guys will know why I was like, oh my God. It was like I felt the same love and connection to this person that I did my roommate. And so I just was sobbing, because it was also me just like loving this moment, but also being like, I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for her. And all this means. Yeah. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I almost made my contacts fall out of my eyes. It was very silly. It was like, ma'am, you need to take a deep breath. Like, put your head between your legs. You're going to pass out.
No, but I think that's part of the charm, when the initial trailer came out, right? Like, I think one of the most beautiful things I saw on TikTok were, like, the black parents showing, like, their surprise and, like, hysterical black children watching the trailer for the first time. One that just rings my forever. I couldn't find her. I was trying to track her down to interview her, but it was, like, this young mom. She filmed her daughter. She's like, Mama, that she looks like me. And it was just, like, it's just, like, and it's just, like, I don't understand. Like, I understand... Like, white people have had, and I'm sorry, but white people have had that moment where it's not special to them. But like, for this, it's like, why are you trying to take that away? Like, just let them.
Yeah.
Like, just let.
It's the joy. You know what was funny to me is like, I remember when Moana happened and that like opening song, and I remember being like, oh, what's that they're saying at the top? And I had this moment where it was like watching Maori and like Pacific Islanders be like, that's X language, and oh my God, like this is the first time I've gone to a movie. And like I know the words there. I don't need subtitles. And it was like the same kind of thing where I'm like, why would you take that away from somebody? Like, why would you want to deny them that moment of being like, of like seeing themselves, right? It's like, I don't know. It's always really funny to me is that I'm like, when you are the default, I'm sure equality feels like a burden. Like it almost feels like an attack, as we're for everybody else we're just like, oh, we just want a seat at the table. We're not like, I guess my thing is I've also get upset because I'm like, guys, you can watch the original. If this is so egregious to you, you can just go watch the cartoon. You don't ever have to
no one's taking it away from you.
And it's not like that much difference.
The Disney Vault is gone. They're not getting rid of the DVD on a specific day. Like you can watch it whenever you want.
Yeah. My theater was filled with Black and Latinx families.
Yeah.
There were children there. There were older people. When we first saw Halle Bailey, it was a very audible response to her.
Yeah.
I could tell people were excited to see her.
Mhm.
They applauded after Part of Your World.
Oh,
Same.
yeah, I mean,
my
And-
screening, we applauded after every number like it was a Broadway show. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. But look at that. Like, that's an advanced screening in LA. And here's a Tuesday afternoon screening in Jersey City. Like, just the excitement, you know, it was really special. Like, I turned to the guy who I saw the movie with, and I was like, I can't believe, like, I got so lucky.
Yeah.
And it enhanced the experience for me. You know, that's why I say it felt like an event
Yeah.
that people came out for.
Let's talk a little bit about Halle Bailey's performance as Ariel, because I
Ooh,
think
baby.
I'm going to say it. Like, I think her performance of Part of Your World knocks out the 1989 film, like, easily. And it's like,
my friend had the best line to me is she said, I'm glad the stage show is over because the option she has chosen for this song is not for mere mortals to perform
it's so good.
3,
It's
4,
so
5,
haunting.
6 times a day in a park. And she was like, and that is what people expect to hear now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No.
such a beautiful, the way she just sang it was, I mean, you believe she's a siren.
Absolutely.
You know?
No,
1,000,000%.
No,
I was like,
100, yeah.
she can lure people to their death with a voice like
Mhm.
that. Like, okay, we got it.
I think she might be the best casted person to play an iconic Disney character in one
I
of these
agree.
live action films. You know, Emma Watson as Belle was
I was
fine.
just
Oh,
about to
yeah.
say Emma Watson.
Did you?
Because I always feel like people went, she's very smart. She's at Brown. She should play Belle. And it's like,
Is that what
Meh.
oh,
Meh.
okay.
Belle has to sing.
Yeah. And then they're like, Lily James is beautiful and thin and gorgeous. She should be Cinderella.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Naomi Scott, they were like, people don't know what part of the Middle East this story is held in her. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
like, even, like I said, I love Beyonce, but even I was like, why is Beyonce Nala? What? So Nala, like, if Nala's supposed to be like
Yeah.
a girl from your hometown kind of energy, like, you pick Beyonce. Like, that's
Well, with
yours.
that,
Yeah, right, yeah.
well, hang on. Even with Nala, it's just like, and you're gonna cast Beyonce. How are you not gonna have her sing?
Yeah,
Like, give
truly.
her, write her a song.
Write a song. So I think, yeah, Halle is just, she is so talented. She and her sister are 2 of the most talented people, I think, like, right
Yeah.
now in their peer group. And I don't think they get enough credit. So it's exciting to see them both, like, have this moment.
No, yeah. I think she did great. And I was worried for the portion of the film where she wouldn't be speaking. And she did
Yes.
even better in that portion, I think. Like, she really, I really felt like I understood, how do I say this? What is the complications that would happen if she didn't succeed by her performance in this film?
Yeah.
Like, I understood the stakes
There are
Yes.
by the
small
way that
choices
it played out.
that Rob Marshall made that I was like, that's brilliant. Like, this whole note where he was like, I don't have her sign her name because if she can sign her name on a contract under the sea, then why can't she just write this man a note? Like, to me, those
Yeah.
kind of,
Oh, I didn't. even
yeah,
think
those
about
kind
that.
of little things that they all paid attention to. Or like, I think Halle talked
Absolutely.
about how she had like a specialty eyelash tech. So because she wanted Ariel to have very specific princess eyes, especially on land, so that she could like emote more with her. I'm just like, those
That
are
makes- yeah.
choices and thoughts by like a young actor that you're like, that's really smart. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just
for
to,
sure.
yeah, just to be very like, I don't know. And then I thought they did a good job of making it so that like her character wasn't so naive in a way that you were like, oh, baby girl, why would you give all this up for what?
Yeah.
Like the way that she sold it in a way that you kind of walked away going like, oh, okay, I could see why she wants to explore.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think the creative choices that were made were really smart. The film begins with a quote from
Yeah.
Hans Christian Andersen's story, which do you guys remember it?
It was something
It was
about
something along the
mermaids don't cry or mermaids cannot cry because they're of the ocean.
because the moment that began, I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. And
Yeah.
that's actually kind of perfect. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people who criticize The Little Mermaid by saying things like, oh, she gives up everything for a man.
Yeah.
And in the past, I was that type of person who was like, it's all about boys. It's a boy crazy movie. It's not for me. But this viewing actually made me realize, actually, it's not about a boy. It's about
Yeah.
being true to who you are.
Yeah.
You know, like, and having people not accept you for the person that you are, for the different person that you are. And like that, I guess with like everything happening in the world,
Yeah.
watching it with that lens this time, I was like, oh wow, I feel like I'm actually seeing it Like for
You
the
know what?
first time?
I had those revelations, right, at moments where I have said many times that just the daughters all being different races finally made it hit for me that, oh my God, they're supposed to be the seven C's. Triton's daughters are like, for the first time ever watching the film, I put together, because I was always like, wow, they had a lot of babies, like him and Mrs. Triton. And then this was like the first time I had this revelation of like, oh my God, they're the seven C's. The same thing with the way they had Eric and Ariel. I was like, oh, the whole underlying story is like they both have a love and appreciation for where the other one exists, but their parents are afraid of the unknown of that community versus their own community. A lot of stuff took on like thoughtful meanings. And I remember somebody said to me about it, because they also went to a screening for work, and they were like, oh, the movie just felt like it was like insisting on a message. And I go, I don't think it is. I think it's just existing, but because things are in place, like Ariel is black, Eric is white, like like the system, like because these things are happening, but now this one subtle change is made. It's no different than right when they brought back 24 and they made the character black, and when he takes off to run, somebody invariably stops him every time he starts running in public, and they're like, hey, where are you going? It's like, you're not doing any, like, you're not doing a big grand, like, this is the change we've made, but those things start to feel different when all of a sudden you're putting together whose mouth they're coming out of, like what the setting looks like. It was very, I liked it. I liked how it took on a different tone.
Yeah, I think there were also some plot changes that, like, not plot changes, but like little details that kind of change how people are acting. So, for example, part of the spell is that she has forgotten that she has to kiss the prince.
Which I thought that was, because it made it work because they both equally liked each other. So there should be no, like, in no world does Halle Bailey end up in front of that man and he's not like, she's into me, going for it. So, like, just adding that made it make sense. Because it's like, oh, well, if he's into her and she's into him, like, why haven't they kissed yet, kind of thing. As where I feel like in the cartoon, Eric's kind of like, there's a very silent woman here who's following me everywhere. Okay, girl, you can come if you want to. Like, you had to add that element, because if they both mutually enjoy each other's company and want to learn, it's like, okay, then this would explain why that hasn't happened yet.
And the other added element was the power of her voice that I think they gave some substance to, which again makes it a big reason as to why Ursula will want to keep the voice. When you think about it, you're like, oh, well, she has a siren's voice that can heal people, apparently. And but not just that, but like her voice is so beautiful that of course it will disenchant you. So,
and I like that they made Ursula and Triton brother and sister. It made the why does she hate him so much thing kind of make more sense, if that like, I think this whole argument that, like, the daughters of the seven seas and all, it made me go, oh, okay, so if he's the king of the sea, his sister would be, like, the bottom of the ocean, like, would represent, like, the, you know, the portions of the ocean that scare us kind of thing.
Like Hades and Zeus kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's one thing that they did do that they planted, but I feel like they didn't deliver on, is the mom. They mentioned the mom a couple times.
Well, I think I think the mom was killed by a human,
by a
right?
fisherman.
That's what caused.
Yes, but then there's also this whole thing with Ursula that she's been secluded down there for 15 years, the exact age that I assume corresponds with Ariel. So maybe she was responsible for the mom's death, right? So it seemed like they were going somewhere with it, where they kind of just left that like unplanted, and that's also why King Triton is so like, they're savages, more so because of like the specific event that happened. It's not the biggest deal. It didn't ruin the movie for me. But
I do
spoil the fun.
Well, I mean, I told you guys my favorite little Easter egg is when Scuttle flies in the window right at the start of it. What's the scuttlebutt, and says, "Did she kill the prince yet?" Because I was like, oh, that's such a great nod to the book, like the original story. And then at the end when he lays her dress in the water, like when they get separated, that felt very much like a nod to the sea foam thing that he like put this tattered dress and let it like float out to sea. So I was like, oh, okay, cute.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to say,
what were you going to say, Rolando?
In terms of maybe the reason they kept that hidden is because Rob Marshall has said, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm very much open to sequels if this one does well.
Of course.
And I think the studio is. So there you go. You might get your answer.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
Like, I don't blame him though. I mean, I don't think I'm looking forward to Little Mermaid 2, but I can see why Rob's like, because my mom said the same thing. My my mother dragged my poor 81-year-old father to the movie theater. And what I love is apparently my dad also cried in the theater, as my mom has told me.
Aww.
Yeah, my mom was like, yeah, your father was, I thought he was like doing something or like messing with like something in his pocket. And she was like, I realized he was crying and he didn't want me to see. But my mom was so funny.
That's
She
adorable.
goes, I want a movie about each of those 7 sisters. I need like the girl from
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
she goes, I want to know about Tamika. What's Tamika in charge of? I like Tamika. Like, she was so funny when she kept being like,
Yeah.
I want to know what the Icy Blonde story is. Like, is she running like Norway and Greenland? And I was like, Mom, what are you talking about?
And I'm sure they'll get answered in a Disney Plus original series.
Exactly.
You know.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You know they will.
I love what they did with the sisters, because in the original film, you know, they're just there for the opening number and we never see them again.
Right.
Yeah.
And here they're a little bit more present, but they're also like, they're the older, wiser. They set up Ariel's position within her family better. And, you know, they're understanding of her.
They
They're
are.
like kind
I
of
actually
like
did
the
like that.
older. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like the haters of this film and everything about it. You know, they're kind of like, oh, this movie's too much of like a rainbow with everybody holding fucking hands. But like me and MacKenzie were saying earlier, Rolando, is that I think it actually establishes the story really well.
Yeah.
Like these are two complete outcasts within their realms. You know, like Eric can't relate to his mother.
Yep.
She can't understand him. You know, Ariel can't relate to Triton, and Triton can't, you know, relate to her.
Yeah.
So there's all these people who feel so separated and misunderstood and unseen and unheard in their environments, which is a powerful message.
I think the hardest I cried, and I'm, you know, sorry if this is a spoiler, is just that end shot. Like, my whole theater had the same reaction where we all giggled when Triton was in the water floating and being like, I'm going to miss you. And then he was like, we're all here. I don't know why this broke me, but the shot of like mermen and mermaids with light skin, it was just the idea that like everybody was present. And for some reason in my head, I just felt like, oh my God, this isn't just like a black mermaid. This is now like little boys who've said, I want to play mermaid. And everybody's like, there are no male mermaids and all this stuff. I just felt like, oh my God, she's looking back at like the legacy she's created, which is anybody can be a mermaid. Now we're off on our next adventure.
Yeah. And it was so sad too, because it was like, oh wow, if only this could be like real life.
Right?
Where like everyone would stand by you and support you.
That blew my mind when they looked back and it was like the people that broke me too. I was just like, we would all be a lot happier if we would just do what this movie says.
No, 100%. I gotta say though, one of my favorite things that this movie did was Melissa McCarthy plays Ursula.
Yeah.
And I was kind of assuming that this movie would do what Aladdin did, which is it would change up the ending, but it doesn't do that. It actually completely does, almost shot for shot and sometimes what the original film does, which was kind of really impressive. Even though, I mean, like this movie coming out after Avatar Way of Water kind of, you know, didn't make the CGI look that great at sometimes, but whatever.
No,
I'll be
it's a good thing I
it.
haven't seen it yet.
But when Ursula turns into Vanessa is white.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a fucking brilliant choice.
Thank you.
Because I have known so many non-white women who have been in love with white men. And they always talk about how they feel like they will always be turned aside because a white man at the end of the day will always marry a white woman.
Oh.
And so when she walks over and she had this great day and fell in love with this great guy that she actually connected with, and she sees he's about to go and marry this random white woman, I was like, yo, fucking triggered.
I had a moment of delusion in the theater where as I'm watching, as we're moving the plot forward, I went, okay, so Melissa McCarthy's white. Are they going to make Vanessa still white? And so I had a moment where I was like, because people had talked about how Halle had worked out with Chloe. And I was like, Chloe was in London. Chloe's Vanessa. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be wild. And then when the actress that plays her came out and opened her mouth, I was like, I had a similar reaction to Nicole, in which I was like, oh, this is so spot on. This white lady, in order to succeed, has just opened her mouth and this black woman's voice just came out. And I think what's funny is even watching people be like, Vanessa's song is amazing. Best part of the movie. I loved Vanessa. And I'm like, what you liked about Vanessa is Halle's voice. Oh my God. You all literally
who
being
are
like,
these people saying that Vanessa's song is my favorite? It's like the
people
reprise,
are literally
you mean?
on
Like,
TikTok being like, guys, unexpected hit of the film, Vanessa. And I'm like,
no.
What?
That
and I'm
is
like,
coded
guys,
message. Those
yeah, and I
Those are
I
dog-
usually
that
have,
is
like
a
the
dog
coded
whistle.
message where I'm like, this is crazy to me that you all are like, the thing I liked most was the white girl who had Halle Bailey's voice.
Yeah.
No,
Like
No,
she
that's
was
like
brilliant,
saying-
but it was just one of those nods that I felt like, if Rob is not being intentional, go off. sis.
Exactly.
If Rob
That's
is
why I
being
was like,
intentional, living for this moment.
yeah. No, I think he was putting
I do
stuff
too.
in there.
I think that's why when people were like Lizzo and Titus Burgess and all these other people to play Ursula, I don't think it was a mistake that he was like, no. I like the idea of this
agree.
white lady stealing this black girl's voice.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit, because Eddie, as we were leaving the theater, his exact words when we were leaving together, he's just like, Melissa McCarthy did a good job, but she was also probably the safest choice for this film, without a doubt. Because now knowing Rob Marshall, I'm just like, yo, Queen Latifah was right there. We know she has performed this before.
Same. I had the
right.
exact same
Sure.
reaction where there were so many people in my mind that I was like, well, you cast Halle, and now you're going to cast like Melissa McCarthy to be the witch that steals her voice, and then this guy to be Prince Eric. But then, like you said, Nicole, I hadn't even thought about that, but that is so spot on that, like, as Black women, I know for myself in the dating world, you do have to kind of feel out like, so do you date people that don't look like your mom? And they're like, sure. And then you're like, okay, so who are your exes? And then they're like, insert Eastern European woman here. And you're like,
yeah.
you know, and you're just like, oh no, what do we do?
Yeah. And no, but even to that though, I think the other thing is just like, if you made Ursula, so I wanted a queer person to play Ursula, like have like maybe a drag queen. But Eddie points out, I was like, yeah, but if you have a drag queen, now you're making the queer, the other already, the bad guy, like, like that's just gonna be,
yes, absolutely.
That might not be the best message to put out there if you really think about it. And he made me realize, like, okay, that's true, despite the fact that I would probably be on Ursula's side, being like, you know what, straight people they're taking so much away from us. So
I
like,
live for that. That it did feel like a moment though when Ursula was kind of like, oh, you land people. It's like, oh, you kids. Like it did feel very like, oh, you straights. You're obsessed with your marriage. I mean, I just think it was a funny way in a sense where they could. I'm just like, hats off to Rob Marshall for being like, there's a lot of really good low hanging fruit in here to put like moments that nod to other things. But I don't have to say them outright, right? It's like that moment when she's just like, oh, boy meets girl, girl meets boy. You just have to be together. That it's like, that's funny. That's funny. That you're just like, that she's like.
She was good. She made me laugh.
Yes.
I think she did. I think she made it her own. I mean, because like Pat Carroll's performance as Ursula in the original is iconic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's one of the best villain performances. And like, it's hard to think of Ursula and not think of that voice. So Melissa McCarthy was smart. And she made it her own.
Absolutely.
You know what's funny
Which
is when,
sometimes...
when the controversy started, I thought, because I was like, Ariel is what she is. To me, she was always the, throwaway of the whole thing. I cared most about who's Sebastian. I thought the controversy was going to be Sebastian doesn't have a thick Jamaican accent. And Melissa McCarthy isn't campy enough. So I genuinely, when people were like, Halle, I was like, oh, well, who cares? We should all be more opinionated about Ursula. Like, that's the one we all care about.
Yeah. Well,
Sebastian, Daveed Diggs as Sebastian actually was another just well thought out casting. I think he's so great. He's so wonderful, charismatic, and I've seen him in the Snowpiercer. I've seen him on the Disney Plus Hamilton. I've listened to him many times on Hamilton.
Oh my god!
Right?
So
like
times.
I know I think he was wonderful as Sebastian. I think he was able to make Sebastian also his own. Yeah. Which is something, and I think that's part of the charm of this film. This film feels nostalgic, but also still feels like it still had its own voice.
Yeah, they did. Like, I mean, listen, and I have feelings about Awkwafina, but even she grew on me by the end of that.
She grew on me too.
Where I was like, Nora, I'm gonna give you a pass today. Today is the day I let you go in peace, but come around here again on some stuff.
Awkwafina has a stronghold on Disney because she's in a Marvel movie. I think she's in an upcoming. She's in Elemental, right? Yes. She was Raya, and now this. I'm just like, girl, like, I don't know what secrets you know, but
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what you had on Bob Chapek, but hopefully Iger can wrestle it away from you. But I mean, they made it work. Like, I was very like, Davi Diggs, Aquafina, Jacob
Yeah.
Tremblay, and then it just ended up being like super cute, and it worked.
oh yeah, no, for sure. I think
Yeah.
the only most jarring thing for me was Flounder, just the animation. He looked a little dead eye when he's looking at you, and it was
Just
a
a
little
little.
creepy. There's a scene
Yeah.
where like she's playing with him, like it's like, oh, little feet and stuff, and it looks like she's just abusing a
Yeah.
fish. You know
I
what
mean, but that's when they turn these into like real like animals. You're just like, oh, this is terrifying. Like this
It
fish,
is.
this fish has no eyebrows and can't emote. Oh no, I don't like
It's
it.
the moment, it's the moment I wanted. It's just like, give me puppetry, give me like, give me a Muppet here to play this role at least.
Yeah.
The friendly
Yes,
fish next to
absolutely.
you,
That would have
you
been
know?
great. That would have been great.
That
yeah.
was the part that
So-
I did struggle with Under the Sea, where you're like, oh, these are realistic sea turtles. Oh, the sea anemones are not playing instruments. They are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Where's the theatricality?
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it looked
whatever.
visually, it was a visually thrilling scene, but like I
Yes.
miss like the whimsy of
Yeah,
the
I missed the blowfish
Yeah.
blows.
of the 89. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
No, I think Kiss the Girl translated actually really well to live action.
So
I think
well.
that did. That was probably the best, other than maybe Part of Your World's one.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that
we have to
reminds
talk
me.
about.
Oh wait,
Eric.
hang on. The one. Okay, yeah. All right. This leads into Eric. But one of my favorite scenes in Kiss the Girl was when she's stating the name. I think they did it
Yes.
so romantically when he's like Aries and she's just like
That was
Scout.
cute.
That
I
was
thought
the
that was
cutest
like
thing.
I'm like, oh, this really just
That
won my
made me
heart
go,
on this scene.
okay, I could see how y'all fell in love with each other. in,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
72
Chemistry.
hours.
Mhm.
I fell in love with the two of them. I'm just like, let me be a throuple with you guys, please. Like,
I mean, a
this is
perfect
so
Eric
cute.
example is I was definitely in the what is it? I was definitely in the not my Prince Eric camp for sure. I was like, when that image got released, and then that's where I had to check myself, and I was like, you sound like these people complaining about how Halle doesn't look. Stop it, MacKenzie, give it a chance. And then about like a quarter of the way into the movie, I was like, I love Jonah. I love him so much. He's so cute. His song is so cheesy and adorable. And like,
Yeah. So I have AMC stubs. I get free refills on popcorn, and the moment his song started, I was like, I'm gonna get more popcorn.
Wow. That's
So I
cool.
did kind of miss it. He was fine. I don't know. My big thing is I always have to read, queer undertones, lesbian
Yeah.
undertones into movie and stuff, because I think every man that women fall in love with is just mediocre.
You sound like every red-blooded American.
I know I was about to say, I
So-
was like-
So that's my own personal thing that I need to stop. He was fine. They had chemistry, and
Yeah.
like that scene in particular that you brought up was actually so well done on Rob Marshall's part. He really spent time with the two of them. You saw their relationship really build out instead of just montaging it.
it
you
made
know?
sense to me, like for the concept of
Mhm.
what they're like, this idea that I used to always think, because of course you get older and you're like, you're supposed to fall in love with this man in 3 days, girl, you saw him for 30 seconds. They made it make sense, that it was kind of like,
Yeah.
they made the rescue make sense. They
Mhm.
made their kind of just the subtle thing of Eric being just as obsessed with finding the girl from the beach made it
Mhm.
more interesting to me, because prior to
Yeah.
this, the whole film has just been, she's giving up everything. She wants to find him. He's like, who are you? Whatever.
Right.
Follow me and my dog
Mhm.
around. As where in this
Yeah.
case, he is actively like, I think I'm in love with that girl I saw in an instant on the beach. And so it made you as the audience go, oh, okay.
And
Here
I
we
actually
go.
do think the moment that she sees him becomes a little more powerful, knowing that this was the first time she has come up to the surface.
Yeah.
Like in the actual novelization, where in the Little Mermaid, the animated film, like we get the impression that she has seen man. She has been up
Yeah.
there before. We see her before she sees Eric.
Just the idea
here,
that she's getting the stuff from the shipwrecks, just that little bit of an explanation. Like you said, I've never been to the surface. I just know what I've seen down here. It made it make more sense, because prior
Yeah.
to that, you're like, of all the
Yeah.
sailors you've seen, now you're like, oh, like this is like Sailor Tinder. You're like, finally, I found one I like.
But yeah, but I agree. I think Jonah was very good. I think he was good in the film. I liked him. I did not care for his musical solo number, but I'm also it was like the one moment I was just like, I don't know if I needed this. Let's cut this. Next time we can cut this one out.
All I
But
kept thinking was, I'm glad it wasn't Harry Styles. Like, I know people
Oh,
really
right.
love
Yeah,
him.
that was
seriously.
my one who was the
Yes.
close contender, and I'm
But
like, I don't know.
immediately, as soon as that song started, I went, "Oh, I'm so glad it's not Harry Styles like hanging off the
Yeah.
bow of a ship." And then like, I was like,
Harry,
"Oh,
Yeah.
Harry Styles is a handsome guy, but like I don't think you need, I don't know, like this guy had the face of like you could see
did.
of a sailor, and Harry Styles is a
Yeah.
little too soft.
I don't think his acting career is going to take off. Let's just say that.
You had not seen My Policeman.
That's true. I missed that. I saw Don't Worry, Darling. I saw enough.
I know." I'm like, I saw "Don't
Um,
Worry, Darling," and that was good.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you this
enough
much.
for me.
Don't My Policeman.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that good either.
What did we think about the scuttlebutt? I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's got a hold on
Do you
Disney.
know?
No other
do you know how
composer
hard?
exists.
Like, here's the funny thing: you're like Alan Menken. Oh my God, I love this Alan Menken. And the minute that song started, I went, "Oh, I forgot Lin-Manuel is also here." But I mean,
It was
hi,
a very.
Lin. Good to see you.
Yeah.
It made me wonder because I actually found out that Lin-Manuel was attached to the project from you, Lindsay, on the Taylor Stricker show. That's when I heard about it. I'm like, oh, really?
yeah.
So
When I was
when-
like, I said, "Guys, get ready. There is a song that will come that you will go, Lin-Manuel is attached to this project."
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So
and I was just
clearly.
like, oh, wow, I hear it. But it made me wonder, it's just like, as I'm listening to it, like, I wonder if Lin-Manuel thought that he was going to play Scuttle. You know?
Oh God, you know that probably was like a moment where he was like, "Me and David rapping together again." People love that, and it's
Yeah.
like,
And,
who loves
but
that?
no,
Lin?
Aquafina Stronghold.
Yeah, no. She was announced in 2019, so I think she was always attached. But I love that read on it for sure.
Yeah. No, you know what? The song was a little corny, but I didn't. It was funny because because Aquafina's performance,
Yes.
or vocal performance,
Yeah,
is what
she was
really
good. She
made
was
that
good,
film, that part.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
in the wrong hands, easily would have been cringy.
I think my favorite thing is that Ariel leaves during that song because I was like, "Mood, girl, mood." Like, she's like, they're just like rapping away, and she's like, "Anyway, I'm gonna go move this plot along and go find Eric."
Yeah. What did you guys
No.
think about Javier Bardem as King Triton?
I mean, you want to talk about somebody that is regal and fills up space and makes you think like, "Oh yeah, I could see people would be terrified to tell him anything." It was Javier Bardem. I didn't see that coming, but because he's another one that when he got announced, I thought, that's a choice, and then it just weirdly kind of worked.
worked,
where,
yeah,
Where I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, okay."
So it did work. I won't disagree with you guys on that. I think he was fine. I thought that it was actually, I had read somewhere that it was going to be Terry Crews, and I was more excited for that. And I was
I would have
waiting.
left. I would have never gone to see the movie if somebody had been like, "Terry Crews is King Triton." I would have been like, "Well, it's been nice, everybody. I tried."
Terry Crews has the body, adi, and I feel like he would have. But the only thing is, like, right, he's more of a comedic actor, so I don't know
Yeah.
if it would have worked. But that's just mentally what I was ready for. I see Javier Bardem, I was like, wait, he's King Triton? Where is Terry?
Apparently I'm the only person that didn't know Javier Bardem was in the film until like they were doing the press run, and then I was like, "Why is Javier Bardem there?" And people were like, "Cause he's Triton," and I was like, of all the people I know in this film, this is the only character I'm just now finding out with everybody else. Like, what?
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah. I think my favorite thing, other than everything we've said so far, is also that they distinctly put this in like a specific area.
Yeah.
I would like a
Yes.
presumably Caribbean area. Like
Right.
it worked. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this story works so well, like with that read onto it. And there's this other part of the movie when Ariel saves Eric. A woman in my theater shouted out loud, "A black woman will always save her man," and it was just
Wow.
amazing.
I love your theater so much.
Ah, like they were living for it, you know.
But, like,
it
that's
was
the
so
funny
good.
thing is like those are the reads that people have when you just make one small tweak. It's like the way I've been joking about the Wicked movie is the concept of it is going to feel a lot different because
Yeah.
I've always joked that I'm like, "Oh, Wicked's a story about a black lady," and people look at you like, "No, she's green," and you're like, "No, she is the only one in her town that looks like this. Her father is determined to find who turned her skin this color, considering that he doesn't." You know, it's like things take on
Oh.
like a tinge of a different read. Like I felt that way about the new Peter Pan when everybody was like, "That's a Mexican kid," and I was like, "I'll be honest, guys, that whole shit on the border and kids going missing, I could 1,000% believe that like this kid ended up in a mystical place and then was like, I'm gonna go save a bunch of other kids from this fate I've been
Was
through.
So he was Latino? I thought
He's supposed to be Latino.
Oh, I thought he was Middle Eastern.
I didn't.
He's very ethnically ambiguous in my opinion.
But that makes it.
Yeah,
But again,
yeah,
these are weird things that work when you're like, this is a kid that's just magically gone like to this other world. Like nobody's got questions, and then you're like, oh well, if it was like an immigrant child, of course they snuck off. And now
we covered the Peter Pan not that long ago. What were your quick thoughts on it? Like, what are your?
I mean, Yara Shahidi still can't act. I love her, but my God, girl, you're never going to be able to shake those allegations ever if you don't pull it together. And then I just loved that Tiger Lily was an indigenous actress.
Yes.
Again, it's the way I felt about the Predator thing. It makes the story make sense when you're like, oh, okay. So this is why he came back and wanted all the smoke, because he got his ass whooped eons ago. Now I got it.
Predator is so good, yeah.
Did we touch upon the controversy surrounding Melissa McCarthy's makeup?
No. But
okay.
Not really.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought Carrie Colby did have a good point when it was like, you should give queer makeup artists like a chance, especially if you're doing makeup inspired by drag queens.
Well, I think the main issue here, Melissa McCarthy was under the impression that it was also going to be drag inspired.
Yeah.
However, the makeup artist for the film was a cis white man and straight. And
he was like, this is drama.
Yeah, he was not, and he did not want to give like credit where credit is due. Like, we know that the Ursula was inspired by a drag queen. He was just adamant. It's like, nah, this is like, what's it called? Like, why can't a straight person do makeup? And also,
I did read that quote where he was like, why do I have to be queer to understand it? And I was like, oh God, sir.
It was a little bit of tone deaf. Thank God. Like, obviously, so much of the press had revolved, or not press, but like so much of the backlash was really revolving around, unfortunately, Halle Bailey as a black woman playing Ariel. But like, for this guy to make that comment, just like, it matters a little bit. Like, you know. And the thing is, like, Disney's big misstep here was they did that promotional video of like her doing the makeup behind the scenes. And the big miscalculation here is just like, it's not impressive makeup. We've been watching, a lot of us have been watching Drag Race for a long time to know it's just like, didn't even beat the face.
Yeah. Oh,
I know?
But I mean, it's like that, but that adds to the Ursula of it all, right? Sweet, angelic Ariel with her makeup look and her doe eyes, and Triton with his grisly manly madness under the sea. There is something about the dichotomy of like, ma'am, I'm sorry, where under this ocean did you get all this makeup? Why does your face be like this? Like, it just adds to the absurdity and the difference between like her and everyone else.
It's true. The one thing I will say, the makeup did, I think the reason, and again, part of miscalculation, the reason for that toned down makeup though is because like so much of it was still CGI'd in post. But it's just like, okay, that's where you get your touches, but like, then don't release that video like trying to hype up the makeup, because it was just not.
I really thought
lackluster.
I think sometimes marketing folks release something and they're like, this is gonna eat, this is gonna kill it, like we gonna put this out and people are going to lose their minds, and instead everybody was like, boo. I hate it.
I don't know if you guys were on Twitter during the time when like everyone was doing like, how do you serve see you next Tuesday in an X amount of fashion, right? One of them that came up, one of the prompts was like, how do you not serve see you next Tuesday? And it's just like, they posted a picture of her. Melissa McCarthy. It's like, ask her. It's like, oh no.
And I think what's funny is like, this is a woman who loves and adores drag culture. Like, even at one point early in her career, went on stage as a cis woman in drag. So like, I'm sure there was also maybe a moment where she's probably looking in the mirror being like, oh no, the queens are going to eat me up for this. Oh no. Oh God.
But
luckily for her, I think her performance for sure saved the character, because I think she embodied the character pretty well. I must say, like, credit here. I thought it was going to be, lackluster. I'm very much, here we go. Let's start subbing things up. Like, what were your feelings on the film?
It was, I have called it Disney Princess Avatar. Like, I definitely was surprised by how much I enjoyed the underwater animation. I think my biggest takeaway, the hard part that clouds it, is Halle is a superstar. So like, she could sing the phone book and I think we'd all be like, give me more. So I think my big thing is I enjoyed the movie. Much like the animated version, I don't see myself like watching this once a month or anything crazy. But it is the movie that like at least gave me faith in these live action remakes since like Jungle Book and Aladdin.
Yeah, I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think this is probably one of the best live action ones. But that's not saying much because they've all been pretty terrible.
The Lion
I don't know
King.
if it's
not
Lion King.
Jungle Book.
I was gonna say, you sure it's the Lion King?
Damn
it's
animals.
I think what Rob Marshall did was, I mean, he did enough of like a homage to the original, but also he amplified it and he made it kind of better in some ways.
Yep.
So
this was easily one of my more recent favorite Disney live action adaptation so far. If I had to rank them, my top 3 are between Jungle Book, this one, and Cruella, which I don't know if that counts wholly because it is a prequel. But Cruella was such a.
But
if it doesn't count, then we can take off Cruella, and I might throw in Aladdin in that mix because I actually did like Aladdin a lot. But I think Cruella was a superior film to Aladdin. I don't know if it counts.
Yeah.
Because
Cruella
it
was
is like
great.
a prequel.
I was one of those people being dramatic, being like, just Glenn Close. No, you all are making this movie. And then I was like, oh, there's Glenn Close. Okay, let me shut up.
Same. Oh, that actually reminds me. The cameos. There were some cameos from the original cast in the new Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Did you catch them all?
I caught the original Ariel.
That's what I caught.
Jodie Benson.
That's the only one?
Now, was the guy that captured her
I think he
on
was
the boat?
original crab.
That's
who I thought
Sebastian,
it was too.
I think so.
I didn't want to...
I didn't either. I immediately was like,
no
sir,
credit anywhere, but
I was
it
like,
sounded
sir,
a lot
do
like
I know
him.
you?
Yeah.
That was my reaction in the theater. Do I know you? Because it seems like they're really holding on your face for
And
a
the
while
voice-
there for me to get it.
And the voice was like, it sounded very... It's just like, when you hear the accent, it was just like, is that him?
Yeah.
So, it may be to be determined, I guess. But definitely, Jodie Benson makes a cameo in the montage where we see her like going about town. I think it was a sweet little cameo. I thought it was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what
I thought she had died, so I was pleasantly surprised that she's still alive.
My mom thinks everybody has left this mortal coil. She will genuinely be like, he's still here. And I'm like, yes, mother. But I think I love how much like Jodie Benson and Halle like each other. I don't know. I feel like again, it all goes back to when the casting got announced, my only concern was my friend who is the mermaid. And I was like, if she's upset, I could totally get it. She probably feels like she's out of a job. Instead, she was so excited because she goes, oh my God, there can be more friends of Ariel now. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And so it's something about seeing Jodie Benson in the film is like, hey guys, Jodie feels like this is how she wants the story to continue. Like she wants it to be her and Halle in the Mermaid Club. Like if she said she was pissed, I could see how everybody's like, ugh. But the woman's in the movie. She's at the premiere. She's at everything, being like, I will
she's
fight
not
for a
possessive over it.
No.
Yeah, share the love. Share the love.
Exactly.
So that's a perfect summary to, I think, close it on.
Absolutely.
MacKenzie, always a pleasure. Guys, tune in when she joins us for Indiana Jones, which it's gonna be an interesting one.
This is the one.
Holding our breaths.
This is finally the one where I am genuinely nervous to come back to the show because I want to love this movie. I have dressed as Indiana Jones in pageantry.
That's
My
awesome.
talent in the Miss America system was the Raiders March on bassoon, dressed as a pageant version of Dr. Jones.
Oh my God. Yeah. Do you have a YouTube link to share?
No YouTube link, but I have pictures of it. But like,
all right.
Guys, I really want this movie to be good. If it's not, I will not be on that episode. I will hide. And I refuse to say anything mean about Harrison Ford. I love him so much.
Yeah, no, lots of thoughts, and I can't wait. Actually, like, I need it to be over with at this point. So
this is it. This is a confirmed final movie. I don't need this to be like
I don't know
a Picard like situation here where it's just like we didn't need 3 seasons of Picard. One was enough.
Yeah, seriously, it was enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, MacKenzie, would you want to join us for Barbie?
I mean, I will show up for the Barbie movie.
Oh, are you excited for the Barbie movie? I'm so excited.
I'm beyond
so
excited. I don't know what this is. I love that Ryan Gosling doesn't know what movie this is. Or does he? Like,
I mean, I'm a fan of just Greta Gerwig as a director.
I trust her.
I trust
her.
Greta so deeply.
So,
also, I knew this movie wasn't Fugazi when I saw that Issa Rae was attached. Because I was like, Issa's not agreeing to do a silly, stupid movie. Like,
I'm
she's
also
got opinions.
so excited for Issa Rae. Me and Eddie just finished Insecure.
Oh.
What a wonderful show.
Yeah.
I waited so long to finish that final. I hate final seasons because they make me sad. So it was like, I was just holding on to it.
Don't worry. That's me like watching certain shows where I'm like, I hope everybody's okay.
All right. Well, so maybe we'll see you for Barbie, maybe for Indiana Jones.
This poor audience will have to deal with me so many times.
They love it.
This lucky audience. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And thank you once again to MacKenzie for coming on. It's just always a pleasure when she's on.
And we hope to have her for Barbie. So, guys, make it happen.
Yeah.
Badger her, being like, we need to hear your thoughts on Barbie.
Yes, seriously. If you guys fight for it, it will happen. If you have any thoughts about The Little Mermaid or want to share anything, as long as, it's like an intelligent comment, please comment on our Facebook page, on our Instagram at Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals. No, wait, hold on. I messed that up. I'm going to take that back.
Okay.
Please reach out to us and share your thoughts. And these are the ways that you can. You can email us, remakesrebootsrevivals@gmail.com. If you want to hit us up on social media, Instagram at Remakes, Reboots, Revivals, Twitter at Remakes Podcast. You can search for us on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're listening to us on a podcasting platform, just search for Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. Give us a rating and a review if you can. And give a shout out to MacKenzie.
Give a shout out to MacKenzie, who is available from Miss USA to MBA.
Yes, that is her handle. Yes.
Yeah. And also, guys, don't forget, June 17th at the Hoboken Museum.
Historical Museum. Yes, in Hoboken, New Jersey.
In Hoboken, New Jersey, we will be hosting our first live event. So please come and join us. That's it, I guess, right?
Yeah, that is it. So we don't know what we're doing next week. We'll figure it out. But we will both be here to bring you more of our thoughts on media properties. So stay tuned for next week. And until next time, stay unoriginal.